Good evening to you there, and welcome to Nature Echoes on this Sunday, 23rd of July, 2023. Seems like it's been ages since I've been with you, but thank you for joining me for this, again, this back to weekly time of echoing news, stories, poetry, and art connected to nature folklore and our precious water, holy wells, woodlands, hedges, and wildlife. So hail, howl, hole, and holy good health for you all. Through this edition, we're going to be focusing on the folklore of animism, plus some of the she, and a quick look at the upcoming first harvest and lunacy, which starts really kicking off next Sunday, and also latest that's going on with the journaling nature folklore course. And I've probably got some other news they'll be able to slip in. Now, this Nature Echoes Live, plus the Growing Nature Folklore video, the articles, photo library, the journaling nature folklore course modules, they're all brought to you due to the support of our very kind subscribers. And that's the link there for subscribing there, in case you don't know it. There's a free subscription tier where you can get access to at least 40 very informative nature folklore articles each year. And this includes, if you upgrade to become a support subscriber, you get also my journaling nature folklore course. That's of 20 course modules per year. And you can join that at any time, because journaling nature folklore, it's a revolving course, not a linear one. And you'll get the latest updates added on the module from the year before. So you can join in any time of the year, and it just keeps developing. And I'm hoping to shortly get going with the 4-season online live workshops a year. Maybe I'll be a bit thin with that this year, but when I've got all the content that I'm racing to put together this year, I'm going to have more time for sure next year. And hopefully we'll have some meetups where we're not online, we're actually together. But to subscribe, the cost is €5 a month, or go for the 50% discount of 30 a year in your currency. So thank you, support subscribers. Your support is why I'm still here, broadcasting back at last with Nature Echoes. So with all that show survival pledge drive sorted, let's see who's joining us. There's a few people have come on, which is wonderful. There's Lara there, an American who's just moved to Galway, and I'm viewing from my apartment. So thank you for joining us there. Wonderful, Lara. Lovely to have a new person along. It always is, and I trust you'll enjoy what's being offered here. I see the numbers are going up. The people are joining us, which is fantastic. So I look forward to you all saying hello and making your comments as we go along. So so Layla, happy to be here. Thank you. I think it was a year ago when Nature Folklore follower Donna Johnson, she seems to be watching after the show, the archives these days, but she introduced a Celtic Animism article. It was very interesting. It was put together very well, actually, by a travel writer called Kathy Brown. I don't have any photos of her, but what I know of Kathy is she grew up in Michigan, and she spent the last decade exploring just about every continent in the world, and traveling around, being a travel writer, which is a dream job, if anybody can do that. And she got a lot of work with Lonely Planet and other sources. Now, her attempt as a travel writer was to show people how to get beyond travel, beyond just going to places and taking photographs, but actually connect with the landscapes that they visit. Kathy is not actually traveling around now, I gather. She's settled into running an organic farm in the Andes in northern Patagonia. But aside from that, she's actually working closely aiding women that are subject to trafficking, which I'm sure going around the world, that's something she was highly affected with. And now she's devoting some of her life to it. Now, the article that Donna passed on to me from Kathy stood out for me because it was questioning, how can mythology make you a more attentive traveler? And one of my writing and broadcasting themes that I do bring up on Nature Folklore, on this Nature Echoes, is how can folklore make us more attentive to our landscapes and seasonal changes and weather changes as well? And Kathy suggests, like I often do here in Ireland, that instead of traveling and taking photos and saying, oh, that's pretty, and seeing how many miles you can get and how fast you can get around the coastline of Ireland so you can get your photos on Facebook or Instagram and get those instant likes. How about allowing yourselves a deeper appreciation? Because doing this usually means you do visit fewer places, but if you choose a place and take the time to apply all of your senses to it, then we can also be inspired with a sense of how local cultures, even the local animals, have interacted with the local landscapes throughout time as well. Now, this can be richly enhanced through joining in local conversations and activities, because if you slow down your visit, you find that you are actually contacting and having conversations with people that do enhance this. You're not actually going into pubs and talking to people that seem to be literally planted there to entertain the tourists. If you actually express to locals what you've been feeling when you've been exploring around the local area, you'll find that their response is going to be very fulfilling, much more fulfilling than if you're recognized as just being a tourist that's stopping by for a few hours, taking a few photos and ticking off your bucket list. Now, if we can, it's up to us. If we can trust letting go and experience where we find ourselves using our synthesis of senses, not just putting our eyes onto a camera screen, but I mean all senses, the smell, the touch, the hearing, the taste even, all of the senses, is if we suddenly find that we've got similar eyes to any local people that's living around the space where we do this sensory contemplation. Now, repeat of that experience can have a very profound challenge upon our belief systems if we trust doing this. Certainly a change in the belief systems we might have arrived with if we're from another country. Now, Kathy Brown's article, she was focusing on her experience of this. It's really an article around her experiences in Scotland, not Ireland. But I've lived in both countries because I lived in the Hebrides, raised family there. So I believe this is potentially a more profound experience on the Scottish West Highlands and Islands than perhaps in Ireland. Yet Ireland is still very potent for this type of connection too, as a lot of you watching here and commenting will understand. And perhaps it's more the church-linked people that speak. Here in Ireland, I find it's the church-linked people that speak more about the fairies than they do the she. Otherwise, to me, a major thing here, the flow of life, to me, is the she. But in the west of Scotland, it seems animism, I'm saying it wrong, aren't I? Animism, it's one of those tongue twisters for me. I'll get it by the end of the show. Animism seems to be a much more potent realm of entities than perhaps the she, and especially the fairies. Now, animism, that I will explain shortly, is focused on beliefs that all things in nature have a spirit and the consciousness. And I should be showing pictures. I've been rushing to put a few pictures up, so let me get a few going. That you'll recognize was the logo for showing this. That's actually trolls on Iceland. I couldn't find anything that seemed to stand out and be appropriate. Not in photograph anyway, from Scotland and Ireland. Anyway, there's those trolls, and there's this that's right behind me now. So let's put me back on. Where am I? Yeah, and I got that in the background. There we go. And oh yeah, I better show that. I was talking about the she. There's a quite good impersonation. You've probably all got a kind of vision of what a she is. From the pictures I've seen and from what I've talked about in other episodes, out-of-body experiences, that's perhaps the closest that I visioned from that. Anyway, back to me here. Right. So as I was saying, animism is focused on beliefs that all things in nature, they got a spirit and a consciousness that connects everything together. So the sky, the earth, the underworld, they're all connected. But that may seem very obvious, but also consider that on this earth's surface, and just below the surface, all this natural phenomena such as the flora, the fauna, the weather, they're all connected together. And to me, they all seem to dance together, as they're always weaving together. They're attracting, they're resisting. It's like ebbs and flows. Yeah, they're always their life flowing with an intent. It's a dance with an intent of balance and letting life continually flow. Now, some people, they like to make a category and pin a label marked animism. And really, that does come out of university studies. Well, we've got to have a word for this, so let's have animism. So I'll stick to the animism word. You won't find local people out in the bogs. Oh, I'm just talking about animism. No, but it's very easy because there's this animism word bouncing around. So it can be very easy to actually brand it as if it's a religion, I think. But animism could never be a religion, not for what it really is, not for the way I see it. Similar to how I sort of feel the Sheelas, pretty much I interpret the two very close. But I'm talking about Kathy's approach here when she was in Scotland. It's a word. Anyway, but certainly there's not... religion is not intended. It's not an intended meaning from it. Now, to me, animism is one of the few convenient words that we have to describe the way of experiencing the entire natural world, and that includes ourselves. And I use the word she and fae sometimes in the same way. Now, connections that are believed to flow through all things, some people describe as energy. Come across this a lot, and I'm sure some of you around do come across this as well. But I believe the flow that connects all things is also a connection. It's also connecting simultaneously to a greater consciousness. It's unseen. Again, consciousness, we put a word to it. Now, this consciousness, to me, it's where our inspirations, instincts, they all come from this. And I believe shapes, we make shapes out of things that come from our inspirations and instincts. So we put them into form. And by believing in some shapes, this is how humans can connect and interact with the rest of nature, by putting form, I suppose. So we live in the presence of the supernatural that's interwoven with our own physical material world. Well, of course, we're not entirely physical material because we have this imagination. But to me, this is what folklore is about. It is making this connection, using your instinct and inspiration, the connection with consciousness and connection with the flow of life. And absolutely no AI server could ever replace, reorganize and simplify this. As you know from my social media posts, I'm quite a big thing on that. After all, AI, what is it? It's just artificial. Anyway, now before the arrival of saintly religions and the commerce and lifestyles that evolved from that, our land was much wilder, as you probably understand, much wilder, much more forested. The settled agriculturalists of the over 2,000 years ago. Of course, we've had agriculturalists since about 6,000 BC, but for over 2,000 years ago, they were much closer to the flow of nature than most Europeans are today. Now, to live and thrive from abundant natural resources, it seems these people of the past believed in creating personal relationships with nature, which includes themselves. And they do this, there's evidence they did so much of this through visions and the presence of deities. So creating visual forms of these deities for the benefit of sustaining harmony with humans, rituals are performed, offerings, and eventually doctrines of behavior was established, which I find a bit of a concerning thing when that starts to happen. Anyway, this was and is believed to maintain a very important balance between the unseen entity spirits and us humans, yet make it all one. To me, this is the basis and practice of nature folklore. It's why I do what I'm doing. Anyway, let's see, ask questions as go along. This is very much a rambling session. I do have some more photographs coming up. I didn't have much time to put photos up this time because you might be aware I've been pumping out a lot of content on Substack. So this has been put together very quickly, but I hope you find this helpful and useful. And so do come up with questions, at least say hi and where you're watching from. I would love to hear from you so I can break up my chat by chatting to you at any time. Anyway, to continue, I'll be watching for your comments as we go along. But for the ancient animists, the She and the Fae believers, and for many of us still today, water springs that we call holy wells, the forests and caves and even mountains are believed to be realms of spirit guardians or spirit keepers or keepers of nature, which you probably interpret this in various ways. Just want to see if I've missed any. Here we go. This is a lovely water spring example. If I can bring this up, this is one of my favorites. It's a bubbling spring that's near Keishin, County Sligo. One of my favorite holy wells, and it's simple, but it's beautiful water. It's in County Sligo, and those simple people go there for incredible reverence, like what I'm going to be talking about and what I am talking about now. Anyway, some of the animals were believed to be messengers, in animism, and this is why we have an animism word, because from these sacred places, from the She, the Fae, there seems to be this evolving of spirit animals that are their messengers. And woodland coves, water springs, ponds, lakes, rivers, caves, and other features of the landscape became respected because of this and considered to be special places to the other, whatever you like to call it. But ancient people who practice what we may call animism, and it's now a growing practice again. It's grown rapidly, actually, which is fantastic. It's certainly, I feel, beneficial to our own consciousness regarding the sort of media profoundment of climate change, but it enables us to, rather than be afraid of this global news, we approach ourselves locally. And so the things we're doing is creating shrines and sanctuaries within such places, like I mentioned, the pools and the trees and so forth. And especially within groves of trees. So those of you who know me, know us, Claire and I, we had a tree labyrinth in Carracrory in County Sligo. I haven't got one now, but when people do visit here, I do go off to places that I feel are equally wonderful shrines, groves where we can contemplate and feel and sense what's around us. Now, such special places back then, back in these ancient times, as well as what's now served as social and ceremonial meeting places for local communities, today, these sort of ceremonial places are more likely to be people that are in our Facebook groups or on our mailing list, maybe, whereas in ancient times, it was the local community, which are next door neighbors and so forth. But for some reason today, getting your next door neighbors and local community to something like this, it seems very tricky. Although you'll see from my postings, we got Edwina Guckian here in Leitrim, County Leitrim, and it's amazing how she gets local people who've forgotten the traditions to actually engage in them and re-engage and re-establish them again. So it is possible if you have the magnetism for this. Anyway, one of my favorite areas of folklore with me, I'm still preferring the Scottish interpretation. And one of the interpretations, one of the names, is the storm hag. Now, many of you may be familiar that I put up weather forecasting on Facebook and now on Substack. I've always been fanatic about weather and charting ever since I was about 6, 7 years old, when uncles and aunts showed me and influenced me on this because they were very much into that sort of thing as well. So I've always been using some sort of platform to express my own weather excitement, I suppose. Anyway, one of the most defining experiences of my life was actually crossing the length of a remote single road on the large Isle of Jura, which is on the Inner Hebrides, very large island, but doesn't have much of a population, about 200, 250 people, and they're all pretty much on the south end. So you got this single road that goes through this very remote island. It's a combination of bogs and forests and lots of midges if you go at the wrong time. And eventually the road starts to wear out and becomes impossible to drive along. And I think let's see if I got a photo of this. This is how the road becomes in Jura. You can still drive a bit further along on this road and you do come to an actual parking space. Anyway, a bit more of this as well. And you continue for about another 5 kilometers from where this photo was taken, and you arrive at Barnhill. If anybody knows what Barnhill is, very remote place. This is where George Orwell wrote 1984, in that very cottage right there. And here's an old picture of him there. I'm not sure who the child is, son or or nephew. I'm not sure. I wish I did know. Sorry about that. But you then walk another 5 kilometers or more. You actually come to from the sort of barren area. You can start coming into this little woodland, and that was actually a village, probably 100 years ago, a fishing village. Either people got cleared out, but they're not there anymore. But you see the remains of a village there, and then you go into more bogland area, and this is the place that's very important. This is a point where you can actually observe the Corrie Vrecken, Corrie Vrecken. It's a whirlpool. Excuse me. But do coming in, you see it's very still there, isn't it? So do time it to be between tides, or you're not going to see anything. I'll give you a sequence here. There you go. You can see the whirlpool is starting to form there. And then here we get closer. There it is. It's starting to erupt there. And that's it really getting underway. That's really something. And this Corrie Vrecken is the 3rd largest sea whirlpool in the world. And it's swirling waves there. It's just starting up. They can reach up to 30 feet high. Now, this is where it's said that where the hag, the kayak, comes to do a laundry. Let's get that picture up. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah, there we go. Kayak does a laundry there. There's a laundry in action. Not exactly front-loading, is it? But the Corrie Vrecken actually translate as the cauldron of the plaid. If you don't know, plaid is actually a blanket that's worn as clothing. It is tartan. Tartans did arrive in the plaids. And this blanket was actually worn by Scots people for 1,000 years or so, well before kilts were available. A lot of people don't realize that the kilts arrived about mid-19th century. Now, it said that the kayaks plaid, it took 3 days to wash. Let's get that picture up again, because people are arriving. They probably don't know what I'm talking about. There we are. There's the kayaks, Kayak Brecken's washing machine there. And all of the washing and rinsing, it caused the plaid to turn white, and it said that to dry out, she put it over Scotland, and that's Scotland covered with snow. Anyway, while washing this plaid, the oncoming time of winter, October maybe, the roaring storm from it could be heard 20 miles inland. And it seems that ancient Scotland, many people of modern Scotland, they worshipped, or at least respected, who they regarded, I'm losing my voice, better not lose the voice at this early, but they regarded her as the Queen of Winter, because winter was so long lasting, much more so in Scotland, because the daylight hours are much shorter than over in Ireland. So this kayak, the respect, along with other folk traditions in Scotland, reflected the woven relationship between humans and the natural environment. I'm losing it again. I do this every week. I'll get it back again for sure. One of the Let's see if I want to get these pictures up. Let's see if I can get this. Here's one, and I'll explain this in a moment. Bet this one up. Look at that. I wonder if you see anything in that. That was when we lived raising the family on the Isle of Mull. One of the stories there was when in October and March, especially, you get the stormy winds, the gales, almost hurricanes sometimes, and the swell on the sea is absolutely enormous. So when that happens, you're still out and about. When you live there, the national dress is oilskins. You're wearing oilskins all day, every day, and you'll be walking down the street, and everybody that you meet, they'll be saying, "Oh, the kayak's dancing on the waves again," or even the doida. I'll mention what the doida is very shortly, but they describe her as the doida or the kayak dancing on the waves, because it said when she dances on the waves, that's what brings about the storms. So that's the kayak. Let's get that picture again. Here's another one. That's a bit more dramatic, isn't it? Here's the kayak dancing on the waves there. Anyway, with any tours and retreats that I facilitated, I have done a few from Ireland, but I certainly did a lot when we lived in Argyll. And I keep these experiences I used to just to Argyll, and people say, "Oh, that's so limiting, so frustrating." And a lot of the tours, they try and do the whole of Scotland. I know it's pretty serious stuff if you try to do the whole of Ireland, but trying to do the whole of Scotland, especially as people want a week in Edinburgh anyway, I find it's too vast. And it's like what I was saying earlier. All it is jumping in the bus, take a few photographs, jump in the bus somewhere else, take a few photographs, get a little bit of a lecture which you won't remember within 5 minutes. So with what I used to do, we started a place called Kilmartin. You might be familiar with it. Fantastic place to commence with the reverence of the kayak and bracken, Corrie Vrecken. Because really it's a bit too arduous to take a group across Jura like I showed you. I would love to have taken groups across the Whirlpool, but the weather changes and people's walking abilities, there's so many challenges against that. So Kilmartin is a wonderful alternative. Some people love it. And usually when I've got people to Kilmartin, they've only just arrived. It's only the same day or the next day from when they arrived at the airport. But during those days, we go, well, let's show you a bit of Kilmartin. This is what you get at Kilmartin. There's a lovely range. You get various cairns, and that's the Kilmartin Visitor Centre to the left there. So I think it's 5 cairns there, which is quite something, and absolutely massive with stone circles. There's loads of those around there. So people arriving, they get pretty excited when they get places taken to there. And then you go up Dunad as well, which where the kings of Alba, they were confirmed. I'm trying to think of the right word, but they became kings on the Dunad anyway. But during the later days, when people have got used to the environment, we've arrived on Mull and gone on a hike from Turoran, past the amazing Table waterfalls, which I don't have a photograph of, but we get towards the caves of the Berg. The Berg's quite something. And I'll show you this. I wonder if you can recognize that. See that on the right there? There's sort of almost like rib bones or something, herring bones. That's actually a fossilized hazel tree. Amazing sight to see when you get down onto the beach there. There's a great metal ladder you have to go down. And one of the things we used to do there is actually see those waterfalls. That's from the Berg. That's taken quite a way out in the sea. It's a lot higher than it looks. And behind those waterfalls, there's actually caves. And on the retreats, one of the things we did, we'd get behind the caves. It's really this first one here that doesn't seem to have so much water. You can get behind the one with a lot of water, but the one with the little water there is actually full of bat guano from thousands of years ago, bat shit. But it's actually got a scented smell, and it's like a big foam mattress. So we would spend the night there as well under there. So fantastic experience, because by this time the people have got used to the culture. They've caught up with their flight problems, jet lag, and so forth. So here we are. We're on the adventure, and we're fully into being sensory with the landscape and the whole thing I've been talking about, animism. I'm saying that now because there's a lot of people have just joined in who probably wonder what the hell I'm talking about. But to go backtrack for the benefit of people that were here, it's wonderful to start off at Kilmartin because there's these ancient cairns, about 5 of them, stone circles as places of ceremony. So I think I'll go through the comments because you have been joining me here. There's a few people coming on. We got Aging Naturally. I've been hearing about. Hail from some state of Eastern USA on the Gulf of Mexico. Good to see you. Thanks very much for being with us. Claire's here. Claire Roach. Lovely to see the beautiful photos and hear the stories. Hedge Rider. Greetings from Pacific Northwest. Thank you for the share. And it looks like you two know each other. Greetings at the Hedge Ride. I moved to the Great Northwest 2 years ago. I miss the autumn. So lovely. You started chatting as well, which is wonderful. The community is in action. Lovely. Thanks very much. Anyway, going back to this word animism, we're bound to think of the word relating to animals. And ancient people seem to have closely monitored the behavior of animals, and they use those to interpret prompts and omens for guidance and decision making. I don't have a picture, but the horse goddess Epona is a fine example of this. And Epona is the goddess Epona is actually revered in Ireland as well, especially up in the north. But animals such as stags, I think I had a stag picture earlier. Let's see if I can get the stag picture. It was in the wrong order. And where's our stag? There we go. I'll show this one. It's not a very good one, but it's the best I could get in short notice. They were admired. Those are stags and horses admired for their speed, their endurance, beauty, and virility, of course. And I didn't have time to put up dogs, but dogs definitely respected because of their very keen sense of smell, and also for their swiftness and a great hunting ability. Also snakes demonstrated the ability to shed their skins, which appeared to renew themselves, and that was seen to be symbolic of renewal and eternal life. But obviously in Ireland, that's not an omen that's going to be here, because Ireland doesn't have these snakes. But there's certainly plenty of adders. You go onto the islands, like what I was showing, even traipsing across Jura there, the way I show the pictures there, you'll find some adders. Fortunately, they won't bite you because they can actually hear you coming from quite a long way back, and they know it's sensible for them to run away before they even you actually get near them. So you're not likely to see them. Now, spider trapping. Spiders, even in Ireland, spiders are very much in animism and in folklore. I think even at the caves of Caish here, that people who got into battle and did things that the kayak wasn't very pleased with, she had them trapped into the equivalent of a spider's net there. But spiders, the idea just by the ancients, and especially in Scotland in caves, spiders trapping and killing a fly in its web, it seemed to have a huge inspiration for storytellers and for animism and for omens as well. And there's a famous story, you may well know it, of Thomas the Bruce. There's a Thomas the Bruce picture, one of the better ones. I haven't got the statue pictures, but there's Thomas the Bruce. And after he was defeated in battle, very soon after being crowned in 1306, he actually went into hiding in a cave in the Hebrides, maybe at the end of the Berg there. I don't know. I don't know what the cave was that he was in, but he hid in this cave. He was in there apparently 3 months, and he was struggling to come up with a plan. What was he going to do next now he'd been defeated? And stories say that whilst he was in the cave, he was watching at one point, and it would be quite true. I'm going to go back to that picture again because I think that was representative. Imagine if he was put in this cave and there's the spider inside there. He'd be watching the spider constructing a web, but with a waterfall or during the Scottish weather, storm, raindrops coming in. The poor old spider kept trying to make his web, and the water kept destroying the spider's intricate work. So the spider had to start all over again and had to do that again and again and again. So against these odds, that spider finally worked out a way of succeeding in creating her web. And Robert the Bruce, he was so inspired by this, watching this spider and watching this spider's efforts, they actually decided to get up and face another fight. And this inspired the famous phrase that I'm sure you've all heard of: if first you don't succeed, try, and try again. Now let's go on to another one, Selkie folklore. I know this is one you probably love. I haven't got any hardly pictures on that, but it's indeed in the realm of animism lore. And let's give a picture here. There's a Selkie, a quite famous Selkie statue there. I can't actually, you might be able to tell me where that is. That actually looks like on Iceland. Anyway, the Selkie entities, they're capable of changing from being a seal to a human and shedding her seal skin, which is what that shows. If you see, she's carrying the seal skin there. Or is that in Shetland? That might be up in Shetland, come to think of it. Anyway, what she has, she's going to hide that. She hides that seal skin. And the Selkie legend apparently originated on Orkney and Shetland. That's why I said that. Because in their old language, the Orkney and Shetland language, which is very different to the Gael language, there's the word selk, and that's their word for seal. Seal is a selk. But the Selkie folklore spread from the Orkneys and Shetlands right down along the north and west coast of Scotland, and then on to the west coast of Ireland. But many of the Selkie folklore tales tell of a man seeing a beautiful woman on the beach, and he apparently knew or recognized she was a Selkie, so he finds and steals her skin, as her a Selk skin, so that it forces her that she can't go back to the water. And apparently, the way that the story says it, the story does tend to use the word force, unfortunately, but force her to become his wife and bear his children. Now, in all of these stories, the Selkie women always somehow, no matter how the man hid it, they always found the skin again. And so finding the skin, they go back into being a seal form again and escape back into the sea. And what that means, they're leaving their children behind with their father. Now, some versions of the story do say that the Selkie mother does actually visit her children and comes onto the land once a year. So because of that, do pay attention if you happen to go along the coast and you see a large seal approaching the shore. Anyway, another mythical supernatural animal, it's a bit like the Selkies, is the Kelpie, a water horse. And there's a lovely example of this. This is quite profound. This is in Falkirk, there by the water features there. Look at that. A representation of the Selkie, the Kelpie, water horses. But funnily enough, in the actual mythology and the folklore, those are not grand horses usually, but there are white ponies. But the white ponies, when you see them ashore, they're got a constantly dripping mane. And the Kelpie is not from the sea. It says they come from the lochs and some of the wider rivers, and they're described as appearing as a pony or a small horse, but they do sometimes change into human form. But somehow, when they change into human form, they're not as efficient as the Selkies. They keep their hooves. When they appear as humans, they've still got the horsey hooves. And the Wee Free Church of Scotland, and not so dominant in the West now, they used to warn the people that these Kelpies are Satan. So anyway, as a pony, the Kelpie is said to be very friendly and does approach people very friendly with his dripping mane, but it convinces the people it approaches to ride on them. But if anybody dares to ride on its back, it only leaps into the deep water and it drowns the riders. Anyway, so if you're wandering around Scotland or Ireland, If you do not live within either of these countries, it's well worth your senses being wide open and alert for selkies, for kelpies, and all the other animism things I've been talking about. But the most important thing is don't be afraid. When you're being attentive, don't be fearful. Don't be afraid. It's just about being sensory rather than getting your eyes up to the camera taking pictures. Be attentive and connecting to all the wonder that's going on. It may be a heavy breeze that's arising, or any animal or bird crossing your path, or even observing the large seal returning to shore, as I mentioned earlier. But by paying attention with all our senses would be a very soulful reenactment of how ancient animists may have responded to those sensory situations, and became very perceptive to the wonders of the natural world that we also share with our new unique behaviors. How we actually share them anyway. Let's see. I think there's one or two people. There's the conversation going on between aging naturally and hedge rider going on, talking about their time in the Pacific Northwest there. Nobody actually we could do a show on the Pacific Northwest with the content there, with putting out there. But if you've got any questions or comments on the animism that I've said so far, please chat to me about this. I've gone on to 40 minutes now, and I was going to continue to talk about the wonderful use of animism and the folklore of the Shee, because whichever way you engage in, they are remarkable realms for therapy for physical, mental, and emotional challenges. But I think I've really gone on long enough, so I'm going to continue that on Nature Echoes next Sunday. And I think you'll find that it's going to be a wonderful follow-up to what I've spoken today, give a bit more perspective, and also give an insight of why bother to perhaps sense this stuff, experience this stuff. But of course, next Sunday is also the combined Bilberry Sunday and Garland Sunday here in Ireland. And those of you who subscribe to me on Substack, you'll have been receiving my chapters on my Bilberry Sunday series, and you should have received 3 of them by now. Yeah, there's 2 more that's going to be published tomorrow at 6 p.m. our time, and Tuesday, and that'll be the whole series. They'll give you this sort of insights, many insights into Bilberry Sunday and into Garland Sunday, because I think they're very much interlinked, and it's very shortly after that, in a day or two, we're going to be into the first harvest time. So I trust you're finding all that useful. And then right after that, I'm going to publish my articles on the croms. Crom croat, crom dove, much more as well, because I find these crom entities have a fascinating origin, and I'm going to cover that as well. So I apologize that I'm behind with the Journaling Nature Folklore modules for those of you who are subscription subscribers, support subscribers, and you work with that. So I trust you sponsor and subscribe. You enjoyed the Hazel set, the Hazel module that I sent you very recently, and I trust that got your imagination wandering. And soon I'm going to be starting the epic Ale Housewives series, and that goes back thousands of years to Mesopotamia, and it follows the culture of what became branded as witches after the late medieval times. So it's going to be quite a journey, quite a long series. That's going to be up on Substack after I've dealt with the first harvest stuff. It's a long one. But before I get on to the Ale Housewives, I'll catch up with more modules for you subscribers. But because of the drama of the Ale Housewives series, it's a long one, I doubt if I'll get to the other Sawan features such as Talaka or Ornagat, the Ornagat Cave, Tara, and Emin Maka. But there's going to be a huge amount of content, especially this year, that's going to be posted online around the Sawan time. There's going to be all sorts of events themed around those spaces without me needing to add in more, not this year anyway. So let's see. Aging naturally is bang. I love nature and listening to trees speak in the breeze. Definitely the connection there. Thank you for saying that very well. Fantastic. Anyway, thank you, Nature Echoes. Thank you for putting up with me babbling the photographs. I've still got a bit more to share. If you enjoy what we share here and through the Nature Folklore channels, please consider subscribing to Nature Folklore through the link there. It's a free subscription for at least 40 informative Nature Folklore articles that I write up and post each year. And if you upgrade to become a support subscriber, this will include my Journaling Nature Folklore course, of at least 20 course modules per year. You can join in at any time because of it being a cycling course, not linear, revolving course, I suppose you'd say. And each year I'll be adding to it. And so each year you'll get more and more to the course as well. And I'm going to be getting going with the 4 seasonal online workshops. I hope to have done that this year, but with the production of content, I haven't been able to, but I won't be producing so much next year, just updating what I got so we can get down to the live workshops, and hopefully we can get some of you to meet up live. We've got a lovely country house nearby that we can do that with, lovely grounds and walks. Now, to actually be a sponsorship subscriber, €5 a month, or go for the 50% discount of 30 a year. I don't know how long I'm going to be holding it, because Substack is trying to push me to get that up to €50. Anyway, it's now 30 at the moment. So thank you for support subscribers, because it's your support why I can still be here broadcasting, because there's monthly subscriptions for me to pay to go live with all the toys I use to try and do a show. But thank you. Your subscriptions go a long way, keeping this show afloat. And coming up on next Sunday's Nature Echoes, the Animism She Wellness theme, I will be focused on that, as I mentioned, and also some references to Bilberry Sunday that'll be going on at that time. And I hope some of you will have enjoyed Bilberry Sunday by the time I broadcast next Sunday. I hope to go on one myself in Longford. I think I can't go up hills anymore, but this one near Ardar, I think I'll be able to manage. So hope to join up with the wonderful people there, then come back and do the show. Wonderful to see Wendy here, Wendy Gilson, Glorious Pictures and Stories. Thank you for being here, Wendy. Lovely from there near Rotterdam. And Hedge Rider, take good care, everyone. And Margaret Mulligan, lovely to have you around as well. Thank you, Margaret, and thank you for your support and interest that's constantly there. Wonderful. Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed being with you this evening on Nature Echoes. If you're watching this after the broadcast as a replay, keep posting your comments and questions. I do check comments and questions from time to time and reply to what you've posted. Click the bell icon on YouTube if you're watching through YouTube. I'm not sure we had many through YouTube this time. Yes, there was 1 or 2. Thank you for the YouTube people. So enjoy a safe week full of wonder, lots of inspirations and enchantments, especially if you follow the sensory route I've been talking about through this session. But this is what comes to you from being in the presence of water, woods, and the mysteries of nature. So until next Sunday, thank you all again for being with me online for this. Until next Sunday, play well. And I think that's what I have for today. So thank you very much. So bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. I hope to see you next Sunday to continue this and the well-being of it.